Welcome to Kitchener-Waterloo Video Tech Meetup. Today, my name is, I'll be presenting quality of content in the wild. My name is Christopher Olekas. I'm an engineer here at SSIMWAVE. This was a project that I worked on closely with Abdul, who's also on the call, where I got to try to find a bunch of different content for different streaming services, and yeah, it was the results were pretty wild. So talking about video quality, here are a few experts. If you go on LinkedIn and kind of look at search for video quality experts, you can see that there's a whole bunch of different takes on numerous different platforms about the quality of content, and it's not really any specific streaming platform that has video quality issues. It's pretty much all of them. Going back, just like in my mind, I think the biggest one that I can remember was the Game of Thrones episode where everyone complained that it was too dark, and it really kind of challenges both the creators and the viewers to they blame someone, and typically it's the streaming providers. So for a production stream, which service would you watch? So here was a capture of Spider-Man, and we have streaming service 1 on the left, and we have streaming service 2 on the right. And I'm not sure how well this is going to look through Google Meet or on YouTube later on, but the screen on the slide on the left, this is a hairline in the middle. You can see that the faces, you can actually make them out. They're fairly clear. You know, you can pull out all the details of the shirts and the various clothing. Where the streaming service on the right is, you know, everything is kind of globbed together. There's no details in any of the faces. You can barely make out the clothes. It's almost looks like a pastel sketch of a scene. So like I was saying before, when you view something that's kind of poor in quality, everyone gets kind of frustrated. The viewers are frustrated, the creators are frustrated, and it really kind of takes away from the creative content that the creators are trying to provide for the content. Additionally, you know, there's almost a saturation of streaming services. So by not having the best quality content available, you're really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. You know, a lot of people, it's so hard to kind of maintain interest in the market, that if you don't have, you know, the best quality and the best experience, then you know, you're might be losing people to other streaming services. And you know, for subscription video on demand services, the churn of subscribers, you know, hurts. And if it's based on something that's so easily, you know, remedied, you're kind of losing out. For ad-supported video on demand services, not only are you losing viewership, which is going to directly affect the bottom line, you know, you're also additionally kind of hurting the brand as well. And not only the streaming services brands, but you know, the studios brands that are working with these streaming services and the creators. And basically, it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved. So a little about us. So managing lean production workflows is difficult with legacy quality assurance tools. SSIMWAVE is automating video experience at scale. We've won a couple of Emmys, both related to impacting TV technology and engineering, as well as developing a perceptual quality metric and using it for encoding optimization. We've been based out of, have close ties with the University of Waterloo. most cited citations in the field. The American Society of Cinematographers created an HDR evaluation group named SSIMWAVE. We are certified Sim Plus for decoding Dolby Vision enabled content, and Streaming Media, which is a company or a publication that kind of keeps on top of streaming around the world, has named SSIMWAVE one of the top 50 companies in online video. So kind of going back to that very first slide showing Spider-Man, good and bad. The video quality comparison in a nutshell. So I basically took a look at 8 of the top streaming services. We made sure that we had the top profiles only when we were capturing them. We had a mix of the subscription video on demand as well as ad-supported video on demand streaming services. We tried to get overlapping assets from the mixture of streaming services. Tried to get a variety of content types. So we have some long feature-length films. We have some live sports. We have some what else do we have? We have some TV series as well. And basically, I took all of these and analyzed them, generated a Sim Plus viewer score. And the Sim Plus viewer score is basically an AI software probe that perceives the quality as a human would. And with that, you can see on the scale here that, it's a numerical scale that goes from 0 to 100. 0 to 20 is typically we bucket it in a bad, 20 to 40 is poor, 40 to 60 is fair, 60 to 80 is good, and 80 to 100 is excellent. And the best content that is delivered on streaming services that we've measured is at 90 or above. So with this video quality comparison project that I worked on, what were some of the key findings? So we found that there was huge, massive variability in the quality of the same asset across different streaming services. We found that there was big quality dips observed inside some of the assets. And going back to what I said on the scale, none of the platforms were delivering at the best quality possible across all the titles. And something that was kind of interesting that I found was that the ad-supported video on demand services, the captures we got from there, they were significantly worse quality than the subscription video on demand services. So here's a list of some of the assets that we captured and analyzed. So there's Spider-Man, Spider-Man 3, Men in Black 3, Skyfall, The Django Unchained, Bones, Walking Dead, which are 2 TV series that we captured from, and we also captured from The Hobbit. So just walking down the list, Spider-Man, you can see the 2 services are kind of close. There's about a 6-point range, which is a little bit outside the J&D, just noticeable difference of quality. Spider-Man 3, they're fairly similar. Men in Black, now this is one where there's a significant drop between the 2 services. You can see one was delivering it at a 63.8, which is, if we go back to the slide, this is in bordering fair, where maybe fair is too generous of a term. And Men in Black 3 both suffered. Both were not great. Skyfall, there's a difference between 3 points between the 2 services. To Django Unchained, there's a difference of 10, and so on and so forth. So green versus blue, big quality dips. So this is from one of our dashboards, and you can kind of see the blue is the first asset and asset ID number 1. So you can see that it has asset score of 80.9, which is decent. And then number 2 is the green line, which has an asset score of 75.4. So just looking at it at a very high level, the blue and the green match fairly well. However, there's a few instances where you can see that there's significant quality degradation. So a little bit at the beginning, but you can see where it's circled that there was a big drop in quality. And later on as well, you can see that whatever encoded this second asset, really struggled on some of the more complicated material. And like I was saying before, when it gets so low, the brand is at risk, the brand of the content that you're showing, and the relationship with the content creator is at risk as well. So going back to that first slide, this is the full slide. So again, it's quite blurry. Can barely make out any of the faces, any of the facial details. A lot of the clothing is blurred. And then this is good, I would say, like especially compared to the other slide. You can pick out a bunch of the features of people's faces. Even with it's blurred, you can still kind of make out eyes, and you can make out the individual hairs, and there's definition along the edges. Similarly, this is later on in that sequence. This is that same streaming provider, I think number 1, the good one. There's a lot of strong straight edges along the tents, the crosswalk or bike lane. You can clearly make out the edges. You can clearly make out the text. The people are all sort of defined and whatnot. However, if we go back to that second streaming service, we can now see there's some artifacting along the road in the top left here. The definition of the bike lanes are kind of lost. The edges of the tents begin to kind of become less defined, and the text is now bordering illegible. So yeah, so this was kind of evident throughout the sequences that we captured. Now, this one is going to be kind of hard to see, but no platform performed well across all titles. So I believe this is the same provider that provided the good Spider-Man, but if you look real close, lean right in, you can see that there's quite a bit of banding in the sky, and I believe this is from Skyfall. So even if the encoding quality or visual quality for the most part seems good, they're from the samples that we gathered, no one really kind of really nailed the mark on quality, at least across every aspect, like banding and just general compression artifacts. So this one, you can kind of still see bits of banding in the sky. It's a little bit better, but it's still there. So that's the gist of it, is that no platform performed well. But yeah. Now this was the interesting one. So this is from Men in Black and Men in Black 3. And this is the ad-supported versus the subscription-supported video on demand service. And just looking at this slide alone, I have lots of issues with it. You can barely, it's really hard to make out what's going on within the scene. When you look at the subscription-based content, you can see that the scene is significantly different. So if you're watching the ad-supported version and you saw this, it's almost like you're watching a different movie versus what you would get when you watch it with a subscription-based service. So the detail in the subscription-based service includes, the individual pieces of glass, the definition of the fish, just the depth of view that you're able to see that it's not all just one big mushy thing, that there is depth in the scene. And so when you view, as a creator, if you were viewing it like this, it's definitely, you know, would be painful to watch, and you definitely prefer this one. So yeah, measurement and automation. So bit of a spiel. Being able to observe what the end quality is of the content that you're working on, all along the distribution chain, be it from the contribution encoder, the delivery, all the way to the playback device, which is where we were gathering the captures from. Like, it's important to have eyes throughout the entire workflow, and you have to be able to do it in an automated manner, because there's just not enough people to watch every bit of content. And so that if you can distribute and deliver massive amounts of video content at scale and with confidence, and make sure that you're always providing the most excellent quality to your customers. So with that, that's it for there. I did want to show some more examples. So you can kind of see here, just with the hairline, like just how different these sequences are. And I think if I do this, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Uh-oh. Maybe if I go back. So again, this was the sort of the sequence that we were looking at. And we can kind of go back, and this might be a little... Dual, I might need your help here. Is there a way to get to the frame viewer from here?
Not sure if it's directly built, so you can use the link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think it's a different dashboard that provides the link directly.
Okay.
But you can maneuver through that dashboard between frames if you want. Yeah. So
okay, so
you can click on a dip on the left side. Yep, that's the same graph as what we were saying before.
Right. So yeah, so we can see that throughout the content, it doesn't. There could be an argument, maybe this scene was a B frame and this scene is an I frame, and that's why the quality is different. But the fact that throughout this entire sequence, which is about 32 to it's about 15 seconds, that it's poor, like, you can tell that it's not just an encoding artifact, that it's definitely a problem throughout this entire sequence. Like, the encoder in general just failed to produce, either the bit rate is too low or what have you. But I wonder if I close that. So just waiting for that. Here we go. So yeah, so here's another sequence where you can see on the left. So this is a little harder to tell, but what you can see is that in the good encode, the definition within the sand is definitely viewable, as well as some of the textures within the stonework along the railing. And as we go and look at the other encode, the details within the stonework is all lost into the encoding artifacts. We see some ringing in these stones at the top, and then as well we kind of see basically the entire dust become more of a veil instead of the fine particulate that you kind of see in this other one. I think I have one more demo queued up. Yeah, so this is another one where you can just see how much different the ad-supported version is compared to the subscription version. So yeah, that's about it. John, Anthony, do you have any questions?
I guess a couple slides back, you were showing the relative impact of the various stages in the workflow, and you showed the delivery having an impact. But did that come into play in your experiments here, or were you always just taking the top stream, so delivery really is a non-factor?
Well, we were using the native players for every streaming service available, and
Okay.
so we were doing the experiments in a controlled fashion so that every streaming service had the right bandwidth allocated. So if the player itself had logic to that would impact it, then that's basically what we captured, and
Right.
that would be
Because it's
along
not
the delivery
necessarily
chain.
starting at the top stream and things like that, the
Yeah.
top quality level, those types of things.
Yeah, so a lot of the times what I was saying is that typical kind of ABR playback would start at kind of a safe profile, and then after a few seconds would jump up once it sees that there's enough bandwidth allocated to be able to play the top profile. And so a lot of these, they're the profiles, or a lot of these were kind of primed before the captures were being done to kind of ensure that the top profile was being captured out of the players.
Okay, makes sense.
Is a video the codecs taken into consideration, like how the variance around that?
So we did find that some streaming platforms did use HEVC, and other streaming platforms used I believe AV1, and other streaming platforms used H.264. But because we were capturing out of the player, it was kind of agnostic to it, and but that was definitely one thing that could probably have impacted the actual video quality of the sequences captured, because maybe the bit rates weren't tuned properly, or they were trying to be too aggressive by like what was it, like HEVC is supposed to be half the bit rate of AVC type of thing. So maybe they were just being, those types of recommendations were just being blindly applied. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But definitely among the various streaming services, there were a few different codecs that, for the players that had it available, I did go in and look at some of the debug information that the players provide as to saying, what resolution, what codecs were being played and whatnot. And yeah, I believe not all of the players that I had access to had provided that information, but the ones I did, I could see that there were some variation in encoders or encoder codec.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. So one, the measurement technology is codec and encoding tools agnostic. The goal here was to compare and benchmark different services, and essentially to identify issues. We showed the results to a number of different streaming service providers, and their immediate reaction is, we had no idea we had these problems. So what essentially that means is, when they encode at scale in an automated fashion, they have quality issues that are really difficult to visually identify and test at scale. And then you have content in the wild that has quality issues, and that creates all the problems that Chris talked about. So yeah, the measurement is agnostic to codec and encoding tools, and provides normalized scoring across all that, which is what the work we did for a number of years. Anthony, to your point, we wanted to start with something to understand what's the best quality you can get across these streaming platforms. So we said, let's start with WAD instead of live, because live is more challenging due to all the latency optimizations and so on and so forth. And then let's look at the top profile and not look at switching or something like that. Let's build the perfect environment for them to deliver the top profile. So we ensure that the content that is being streamed and captured is the top profile. And it can only get worse from here if you start introducing other things in other real world situation. And my personal expectation was that when we scored the content, at least for WAD workflows, for premium content that we're looking at, everything would score in high 80s or low 90s or something like that. So I personally was very, very surprised looking at some of these results. And we showed the creators as well, and they just couldn't believe what many of them saw when they looked at quality. Now we are doing a comparison of live streams. That's underway for sports content, which is, I expect, it's going to score relatively lower than WAD content.
Cool. So that's everything then. Thank you, Anthony and John and Abdul for joining me tonight. And I guess for us Canadians, we'll enjoy some more sunlight. And for you, John, enjoy the work day, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris, for the presentation.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.